Where I am now, so I've got many years experience as a product owner, and I've worked with several different teams in different companies that have done Scrum and Agile. And so I'm also doing the Scrum Master role here and the BA role here. So I'm very particular. I'm very picky. And so I like things to be efficient. I like things to be valuable and that sort of thing, and keep developers moving to kind of keep on, to kind of try to make things efficient. I have stepped into this role at the company that I'm with now for about a year. And one of the challenges with the product that I'm responsible for is it's just got a history of things not getting done, things not getting done right, things not getting done quickly, and that sort of thing. So it's a challenge, and it's just got a really bad reputation that I'm trying to kind of overcome. So anyhow, one of the things, obviously, to help resolve this is a retrospective to get people's feedback on what can we do to improve the process, right? And so I've kind of taken over that Scrum Master role in the past month, and I've used different retro, and also keep in mind the company that I work with, we're kind of new to Scrum. And so a lot of the other people that I work with, it's a brand new thing for them. They're not familiar with how things should work or some of the, ceremonies and that sort of thing. But anyhow, so I've kind of introduced retrospectives to a lot of the groups here. And I've tried using a couple of different tools to do it. I've done several tools, is all I'm going to say. Is I've tried several. And Googling tools, retrospective tools and stuff, yeah.
Okay. How would you compare us to those other tools?
Well, I purchased a subscription.
That's
I can tell you that. I could, my choice was to continue to use the other tools for free, or I could purchase yours and actually pay for a subscription. So I actually chose to pay for a subscription. And I will tell you too, the difference, and because I didn't want to deal with the whole company and budget and approvals and all that other stuff, I'm personally paying for it out of my pocket. So
oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, then like even more. So what are the differences compared to other tools that are making you buy a tool on your own budget?
Yeah, I wanted to show you the one that I used to use quite a bit is Parabol. What I did like is that, yeah, there's different options and different templates, and you can choose all of that and everything else. And so you've got this icebreaker. Okay, that's fine. That's great. And then you've got this reflection. You can let people, whatever, and people can enter stuff. And it's fairly intuitive and it's fairly straightforward. The one thing I didn't like, though, is that there were a few things that I didn't like about this. The timer, not everybody can see the timer and that sort of thing, et cetera, et cetera. And then you go through the grouping, and it kind of has the agenda over here. And there's grouping and there's voting. Well, what I've found, though, is that with our team, there's not, because I allow for enough time to do discussion and stuff, then there's really not as much feedback to warrant needing to do the grouping and then the voting and everything else. So I found that when I use this, it kind of drags through those two things. It's just kind of like dragging out while everybody's sitting there, just kind of watching me, try to order things. It's really not a group effort to like group things, right? And what I also find too is that if I try to say, okay, well, let's read through these, should we group them? And I try to make it a team thing of grouping them, then it actually just kind of starts the discussion. Just the discussion starts, which kind of just fast tracks it to this. So then I have to kind of go back and forth, right? And during the group and the vote, you also can't add any notes to this. And then in the discuss part, there is like a little option. If I go, I'm gonna see if I can click on next. It's gonna make me write something, I think. Something goes here, maybe. I don't know. And then can I do next? It's not letting me for some reason. It doesn't like me. It must know that I'm betraying it. So it's like, hey, we know you're leaving us. We're not going to let you do anything. Okay, there we go. I had to add a ticket. So then you go to next, and then here you see it jumps you to the group, right? And so, and just like you noticed, I have to click on next in order to get it. And if there's not something and whatever. So then I can click on, okay, group it, whatever. And I hit next. And then, okay, you go through the voting. A lot of people didn't really understand this. And then here is where you actually discuss, and I can, write something in there, or I can choose to add a task. Okay, fine. However, a couple of things that I absolutely like that I did not see on any other product is, so hands down, everybody loves the shoot the balloons. Just putting that out there. It's become a competition. Everybody absolutely loves that. I don't think they even listen to me when I'm talking. They're so busy competing. They're like, oh my gosh, Paul is winning. Oh my gosh, take him down. Can somebody hurry up? I mean, it is a riot. Everybody loves it. When I've done the icebreakers in the other retros, what I find is, if I go back to this icebreaker and, as a child, what did you want to be when you grew up? And I'll go around the room and stuff, because everybody's remote. Everybody's, we're in different countries and stuff. It just, it's sometimes it's really dry, right? Like people are just, I don't know. I think I wanted to be an architect. I'm like, okay, well, and I'm trying to kind of get the engagement and why did you want to be an architect? Well, my dad was. Okay. Whereas the shoot the balloon gets everybody laughing. It gets everybody kind of active and kind of, it makes it fun. So I think that shoot the balloon is actually is actually the better of the two icebreakers, to be honest with you. Okay. I think that works better. So I like that. I do like that I can prepare the retro. And then also, here's another thing that I did not find in any other tool. What I really like is that you guys have kind of the agenda there in the order. And that is really easy when I'm trying to facilitate the meeting, where it just guides me through the next thing that I need to do, which is what I liked about this one, where it kind of has that agenda, again, but it's still kind of clunky, and I'm not a fan of that tool. This one, it's the only one I could find that does review action items and pops them up there. It's the only one that I could find that did that. There was also another piece where you've got the team health check question, right? That happens first. And now that, again, I really like that. No other tool had that. And as I've been trying to learn better ways and watching different videos and all of that stuff about how to make a retro more productive, that was the one thing that I heard, often was, start off with the team health check. And all of the tools that I looked at, none of them had that kind of incorporated in there. So that's great. And so I also like that I can change the health check question. That is when I'm showing the data, I think, of here's what our burn down chart looked like, here's where our velocity stands, et cetera, because I think that kind of helps to give them context, because developers, the development team here, they have no visibility into that bigger picture, except for what I share with them. The open questions, I love that I can add my own, because you saw over here, even over here when I do the reflect, there's not really an option for me to add my own columns or to modify it. I'm kind of stuck with whatever they have, you know what I mean? So there's minimal option as far as customization, whereas over here, I like that I can just add questions, and I can either create a question or I can pull from one of these. I really like that. And it's so easy as well to do that. So I've got another gentleman. So we recently just merged two dev teams together, and he was the product owner of the one dev team. So Thursday before our retro starts, I've been getting with him, and we've been kind of figuring out what questions should we ask, and how did the last retro, should we change up the questions and that sort of thing. So it's really nice that we can also just kind of go through these other templates and add a question from one of these. Really like that, without having to add the whole template and then try to figure out how to remove that column. Yeah. So that I love.
Was it hard for you to understand all these things, or would you say it was rather easy?
Okay. Let me just go backwards a little bit in my brain. When I set up, the challenge for me was, and I'm not saying that these were like really big challenges or anything like that. What I had to kind of try to figure out is what all these things were. So I see the team page, I see the retro. Okay, how do all of these pieces fit together, right? But then what I really liked though is that I could easily see the retros where it said next retro. I'm like, oh, okay, got it. And when I clicked on that, then it was kind of right there. It was like, okay, got it. I do like that then I can come back to the team page and kind of see how things went, action items, outstanding. I didn't really have that with this tool. If I go back to my team, action items weren't really, this layout just didn't work. It wasn't. So I like this better, number one. And then also on the retros, I can easily go back and see how we've done, so I can kind of get a wrap up of each one. So I do like that. Also, another thing too, that you guys also have that incorporated survey at the end, right? That you can do at the end to ask whether or not it was valuable. right? No other tool
Yeah.
I saw had that. Again, that was also a suggestion I had seen in a couple of other, like, Scrum trainings and that sort of thing. And your tool was the only one that I saw that had that. And that has been a big help as well. Part of the reason why I'm playing the role of the Scrum Master is because I got rid of the Scrum Master that we did have, primarily because the retros were absolutely meaningless. We learned nothing from it. Even if we had a bad sprint, there was no diving into what was going on. It was just, hey, everybody throw what your thoughts are up on the spreadsheet. We walked through them, no lessons learned, no anything. And so I was like, you know what, that's not helpful. Let's just, I'd rather just do the Scrum Master myself. And so that has been helpful because, again, I think we've had a lot of lessons learned from doing these, right? So even like when I got the retro score of 9, I'm like, okay, well, that didn't go so well. So we need to, improve it. And I think this past one was a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, we call this roti score or retro score. Yeah, but like 9 is great. 9 out of 10 is amazing, actually. It's, I mean, clearly above average. So yeah, congrats to that. This is definitely.
I'm telling you what, it's the shoot the balloons. I'm telling you what.
Could you like summarize again in like 1 or 2 sentences what are like the main difference between Echometer and Parabol, and why you like Echometer more?
One, the first and foremost is the agenda for the retros is more flexible and inclusive of a couple of things that Parabol does not have, such as that health check, such as the retro, right? Feedback. And look, I'm using Parabol because that's the one that I kept on gravitating to. I've tried Reetro, I've tried this, I've tried that, I've done research and people saying, oh, well, just use Atlassian Whiteboard. Well, then how do I track my action items? How do I do this? I mean, how do I get metrics and how do I get feedback? I mean, so there's a lot of tools out there that I've looked at. Parabol was the one that I kind of kept going back to. But then when I found yours and I'm like, oh yeah, this is hands down. Yeah, so much better. It's totally worth me. Yeah. I would also tell you too, what's also important was the ability for people to log in easily. So when I'm sending this to developers, I mean, we don't, there've been some tools. It's kind of like you guys probably are familiar with pointing poker, right? You guys know that tool, pointing poker? The simplicity, you don't have to create an account. You don't have to do all of this login stuff to be able to use it and participate. And that is typically a hurdle too, because there's some tools out there that I could use where it would require, okay, well, sign in and okay, well, then we'll send you this email and then you have to click on that link. Dude, I just want to participate in the retrospective. I don't want to, give up my, kids and my income and, I mean, I don't want to have to do all of that just to participate in a retro. So that's also important. I would tell you that. People also liked the developers loved that they could choose their own little icon. That was a fun thing for them. And they've also taken on, if you've noticed, some people have really kind of embraced their name and stuff. And I will tell you, the people who are doing this too are typically the quietest people on the team. So this has kind of gotten them out of that cocoon as well. So the the shoot the balloons, the being able to choose their own little thing and make their own name. That is the first time that I'm like hearing of, because typically they're just really quiet. They just don't really speak up or anything. So that's been fun. Yeah. Oh, and the ability to answer questions ahead of the retro to where I can send out that survey ahead of time, that I couldn't find another tool that did that either. Even Parabol, it doesn't allow you to do that. I can send out the link ahead of time. Nobody's going to remember the link. Nobody's going to remember that link. Yeah, shoot the balloons. Shoot the balloons. I'm telling you what.
I won't forget that. All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye.